It isn't often that I get to do a double interview for the channel, but when I do, it's totally worth it because it's a double dose of creativity. Hi, I'm your host, Garrett K. Jones, and this month on Author Awareness, I'm interviewing returning writer James Fox, and I get to introduce to you his writing partner, Amy Duboff. Happy Saturday and welcome to my channel. If you're new, glad to have you, and if you're a returning viewer, glad to have you back. You can become a channel supporter through Patreon and the merch store. Both are featured down in the video description, and of course I'll talk more about those options towards the end of the video. Of course, the fastest, easiest, and freest way to support what we do here is by becoming a subscriber. So make sure to click the subscribe button and smash that like button. I want to remind you that next week is the first session in my lecture series at the Kings County Library located in beautiful downtown Hanford. This first session is going to be called Monomyths and Their Adaptations. Now, if you're local to the Hanford area, come on down, check it out, because I would love to meet you guys in person. However, if you're following me on social media, I will be live streaming the session directly to YouTube. So if you'd like to participate, you can do that. And if you'd like to recommend some monomyths that you'd like me to tackle in the lecture, I would be pleased as punch to be able to do that.
Before going any further with the video, be sure to subscribe and click the bell icon for notifications on new videos. You can select notifications for all videos, or you can select notifications based on your preferences. If you're watching on your phone, be sure to update those settings inside the app itself to get the most out of your viewing experience.
This month's author interview is a real treat. I had the opportunity to interview James Fox last year because of a connection through my local newspaper. I interviewed him for the paper as well as for the channel. It was an awesome experience. And as I was looking for authors to interview for season 4, James was eager to return with his writing partner, Amy Duboff. Both work independently, but I think you guys are going to be inspired by this joint conversation. So, here we go. All right, well, James, Amy, thank you for joining me on the show. Why don't you guys tell me about what you're currently working on?
Lots of stuff, actually. Lots of really cool stuff. I guess the first thing I should bring up is we're shooting a feature film together in like 10 days, I think. So Amy wrote a script, and we put it together super fast, and we loved the idea, and we decided to go ahead and shoot it. So that's what we're currently up to, but lots of writing. I'm still working on the Sol Saga, trying to get that finished up. The feature film has maybe conflicted with my schedule on that a little bit, but that's okay. And then Amy is up to all kinds of cool stuff. I'll share that.
Yeah, so likewise, the feature film has kind of taken over my life recently, but that's all in a very good, fun, super positive way. But the other thing that I'm working on is the Terran Empire Saga. I am partway through writing that series, which is a sequel to my original Cadicle series, which is now also part of an expanded universe that includes work with other co-authors. And that's a space opera adventure, awesome thing. And James and I actually wrote a novel in that universe together. And he also wrote the TV pilot adaptation of the original series, which we are currently shopping around and has been getting some good buzz at film festival.
Wow, that's pretty fantastic. So tell me about the book that you guys co-authored. I'm really curious to hear about that.
So that book is a prequel to the Terran Empire saga, which is itself a sequel series, but we wanted something that could work as a new entry point for readers who had no idea about anything else in the larger Cadicle universe. So we were inspired by films like Alien and Event Horizon, and that idea of having this ship with a small crew that's out in very distant areas and kind of cut off from all resources and facing some foe that is mysterious and much larger than themselves. So it follows a crew of 5 as they're encountering this anomaly in a nebula where they're really not supposed to be. And it's setting the stage for the big kickoff events that are the backbone for the Terran Empires.
Very cool. So when you say that they're in a location of space where they're not supposed to be, is this because it was off limits, they're not under orders, and they've gone rogue, or it's just they're in the wrong place at the right time?
It's an area that's off limits. So several years, about 2 decades before the timing of the book, there was a big war that happened back then, and actually, no, I guess it's more like 30 years. But so the war left a rift in space that's just kind of like a distorted, torn area that is still a little unknown, and they're not really sure what to do with it. So there are patrols of the TSS, which is a special branch of the military that deals with such things, and it's closed off to civilians, but they're looking for salvage grounds, and because the war there are lots of very valuable ship parts, and so it was a desperate move to try to fulfill a contract on a short time.
Right. Okay. So it's like your standard salvage crew, kind of like what you see in Event Horizon, but instead of going in just to salvage from a ship or just debris, they're trying to salvage something more. And I'm assuming this rift is kind of interspatial, subspace, dimensional type phenomena.
Yes.
Very cool. That's very cool. It definitely sounds like it's within that sci-fi horror but space opera-ish genre. That's really cool. So I know that with James, he got into writing his Sol Saga during the pandemic, and because of Hollywood kind of being shut down. How did you get into writing, Amy?
I started writing when I was a young kid. So I actually began working on the Cadicle universe when I was 10 or 11 years old, and dabbled in it for a long time and just kept cobbling pieces together based on the various media that I consumed over the years. So Dune and Ender's Game were probably the 2 initial foundation works that inspired me to get going with it, and then kind of mashed in some sliders and then The Matrix when it came out. It took on its own life eventually. It became a much bigger thing. But I wrote that all the way through middle and high school. And then by the time I got to college, it kind of sat on the digital shelf for a bit. And then when I was in my mid-20s, I picked it up again and dusted it off and restructured it and turned it into what it is now.
That's really cool. I mean, because this is something that you've obviously spent a lot of time developing and putting together. And so can you give us an idea, like some of the characters that are going to be experienced in this series?
Well, Will is the main character of it, but Sarah would be a very close second, who's the love interest, and their partnership is a very important foundation of the series. So Will is that genetically engineered to be the next level of evolution with a bunch of abilities that go beyond everyone else. But given that responsibility, he has a great emotional weight of what he has to do with that, and it takes a big toll on him. So that's why the relationship is such an important thing. And Sarah is extremely gifted and capable in her own right, and is grows into be the kind of leader that others want to follow.
Very cool. You mentioned Dune and Ender's Game. There's definitely a Paul Atreides, Ender Wiggin kind of vibe with the Will character. Now is he just like a wonderkind it's a process of natural human evolution, or is this something that's been augmented by specific genetic breeding and all that, like what we see in Frank Herbert's work?
Yes, it is. It is the genetically engineered it's very Benny Gesserit, like carefully crossed bloodlines over many generations. And the series itself is really a multi-generational story. So Will's parents, Chris and Kate, are very big components of it. And then as the series continues, Will and Sarah's children are also big players in it, and coming about pretty much sparking a political revolution to take out the organization that committed all of this genetic engineering and planning and plotting in the shadows over the years.
Obviously, we've talked about some of your inspirations as a writer, Frank Herbert, Orson Scott Card. What other inspirations do you have that you draw from?
Heinlein is definitely a big one as well. I really grew up reading the kind of golden age classic stuff, so that's what really called to me the most. Robert Jordan played a role as well, reading the Wheel of Time and seeing especially the parallels to Dune in a lot of ways. And so I kind of took those common elements and incorporated some of that into my writing as well. But I also have drawn on book things as well, and really take inspiration from all of the shows and movies that I watch. So like I mentioned, The Matrix, that aesthetic, it inspired the Agent look a little bit when I was young and first saw that on the big screen. And I just really enjoy taking those little favorite nuggets from everything and incorporating them in, because I think that the best work are the things you're passionate about. So just having this greatest hits mix of everything is a fun way to go about world building.
The question I have is, how did you guys get connected? Because I mean, I know that James is originally from the Central Valley. He actually, grew up just a stone's throw away from where I am, and now he's up in Coarsegold. So how did you guys get connected?
It's going to come off a little creepy, but I'm just going to roll with it, and then Amy can correct me if she wants to. But I read the Cadicle series and I loved it, and we wound up sharing some space in the Jordan Con Facebook group, and I saw her post all the time in the Jordan Con Facebook group, which is Robert Jordan's convention, and she was just seemed very approachable. She did other people's stuff, so I was like, you know what, I'm a fan. I'm gonna see. When I read Cadicle for the first time, I was really struck with how cinematic the writing was. I mean, I turn everything I read into a movie anyway in my head, but this was really it flowed. Most of the time there's got to be some conversion, and it's like, okay, this is kind of hard to imagine as a movie. Cadicle was not that. It was very smooth and very seamless. I was kind of struck by that, and so I reached out, just like Facebook Messenger, I think, and was just like, hey, you don't know me, but I'm also in the Jordan Con group. You ever thought about, and I'm a fan, have you ever thought about adapting Cadicle to like a TV show or a feature film? She was very kind and also probably very weirded out, and responded back. Was like, yeah, of course I have. ... And that was it. And I was like, okay, well, that was the weird, awkward, what's this weirdo doing, messaging me out of the blue? And me being the idiot I am was just like, well, let's talk more about this, and just kept messaging her. And so at a certain point, she was like, I put together kind of a pitch deck, and I said, well, I'd love to take a look at it, maybe give you some pointers, I started realizing maybe, I don't know, 30 or 40 messages in that I was probably coming off as creepy. So I was like, oh, let me just help you out and
so it took
take
that
a look
long.
at it. Yeah, maybe longer even. I'm being kind to myself.
It was not creepy. It was not creepy. He was very kind of professional the entire time.
So anyway, so she sent me her pitch deck, which was awesome. I gave her some pointers, and I think she responded to the pointers, and she realized that wasn't just some shark circling for property somewhere or something. So we started discussing back and forth, and I was like, here are some of the problems you're going to face, I think. And it just kind of naturally developed into a thing of, well, let's try an adaptation together. And we went back and forth, and we finally were agreed to it, and I was like, okay, we're gonna go do it. And we vanished for I don't know, 2 months. I forget how long it was. Didn't really communicate to her that we were. One of my writing partners, Daryl Gavonia, we were working on it together, and we went through a ton of revisions. We really are both fans, so we really dug into it. And then I sent it to her, and I think she was a little surprised that we actually came back with it. But sent her a pitch deck and a pilot, and she was like, "Oh my god, this is great." you've made some huge changes. Let's talk about these. And so we talked through everything, and then really working with her was great. Like I really, adaptations can be tough because people are very defensive of their work, and it wasn't that with Amy at all. She was like, okay, I noticed you changed this. Tell me why. And I'd explain it. She'd be like, okay, that makes sense. Let's move on to the next thing. But we really feel like we dialed in the show, and like, you know, we worked with Amy to establish like a series Bible, multi-season Bible for the show. It's won some festivals. It's placed in a lot of festivals. It's been selected for a lot of festivals. We're really quite pleased with how it turned out. And what makes Daryl and I both the happiest is that Amy was pleased with it. So like that was a lot of fun. She's welcome to correct any of the stuff I just said.
Yeah, it was a really wonderful experience working with both of them. They brought a invaluable outside perspective to it and thought of changing some things that I never would have thought to. The original series takes place over about 60 years, so it would be completely unfilmable in a conventional sense. We knew that we would already have to dump the prequel that is 20 years before everything, and that was fine. I fully expected that. But some of the other timeline changes that they made to keep the core story intact, but allow it to take place over a more compressed time were really smart things that I never would have thought to do myself. And I really appreciated that the entire time they had the heart of the characters in mind and kept all of that intact. So even though some of the structural things are a little bit different, the core feeling of it is really there.
I've always struggled with co-authoring and writing with, you know, a partner. Has that been a challenge for you guys, or have you faced any other different challenges in the collaboration that you guys have worked on with with the projects that you've been working on?
No, actually, it was great. I think the only challenge was there were a lot of distractions in the world at the time that we were doing this. You know, as soon as I could pry myself away from watching the news, I would work on the writing. It was hard to kind of stay focused with everything going on. But other than that, no, the collaboration has been. I do recall during the revision process, her looking at me and saying, "You are so mean to your characters." That's when I knew I nailed it.
Yeah, he is really mean to his characters all the time. I really enjoy working with James. I feel like we have very complementary skill sets, and it's been a real pleasure. Clearly, we keep doing things together, so there must be something good going on there. And I feel like I've been incredibly lucky with all of the co-authors that I've brought into the universe, and each one has brought something unique and special to it, and it's better for all of their collaborations. And the way that I do handle it with my co-authors is we go over and create that general structure together, and then I turn them loose to do the first draft, and then I go in and do the universe look and feel polish edits on that and serve as a dev editor and
so you're handling more of the arcana and the lore rather than the nitty gritty.
Right. Yeah. So I make sure that any of the characters and the plot lines will integrate with everything else that's going on. There are something like half a dozen different series now that all need to be integrated in the right way. So I need to check all of those timelines on there. And it's a challenge. I mean, especially doing the Terran Empire saga now, because there's so much that's already been published and is set. I have a lot of checking that I need to do to make sure that things work. But everyone has been super flexible, and it's just been super awesome to see all of these different but interconnected threads come together into this bigger work. So we're well on our way to creating something that could fill one of the big Star Trek or Star Wars universes in the future.
So we're coming up on the last question here. If you could give any advice to other would-be authors out there, what would you say to them?
I think I would just say, do it. I wanted to write for a long time, and I've had a lot of fun screenwriting, but I've always wanted to put a novel together. And it's tough. It's challenging. There are days you're not going to feel like writing. There are days where, I mean, I still have imposter syndrome, right? Like I still wake up every morning and go, oh, I wonder if I'm going to be able to write anything good today. So, it's just a matter of doing it. Just sitting down, doing the work, setting a goal, daily goal. If that's 500 words, that's fine. Do it every day. And pretty soon you'll have a novel.
So I would say that I have kind of a threefold answer to that. First, write the book that you would want to read, or if you want to do screenwriting, then write the movie that you would want to watch. Just think about the things that you really enjoy and figure out what you can do to tell that kind of story and really get it out there. Because if you're passionate about it, that will come through in your writing. And then, like James said, if you are having difficulty finding the time and motivation, just set a really achievable goal for yourself and try to write every day. Even if it's setting 50 words down on the page every day, you can do that in a few minutes. You can just carve out 5-10 minutes for yourself. You should be able to hit that. And the third would be, it's totally okay if you want to write for you. But if you want to write to be an author that is putting your work out there, you do need to have a thick skin on it. And it's totally valid if you don't want to do that and you really are just writing for yourself because you love it. That's totally okay. But if you are putting your work out there, there are some reader expectations that come in, and that's a whole different ballgame than writing for fun.
Well, awesome. Thank you. So before we wrap up, I'm going to give you guys an opportunity to share how people can get a hold of your work and where they can find it, as well as how they can connect with you.
I can be found at amyduboff.com, and I have links to all of my social on there. It's at Amy Duboff on most things, so you can go on there and check me out. And I also have a contact form on my website if you want to reach out. And all of my books are available on Amazon. I have a couple freebies that are wide, but for the most part, Amazon is where you can get everything, and most of them are in Kindle Unlimited. At Amy Duboff on Facebook is really where I'm most active. I have a reader group on there. That's Queen of Space Opera group. That's probably where I do most things. And then I occasionally post on Instagram, but I'm really bad at that. And I do have accounts on other places, but you're just really not going to see the activity there. I have to get better at that.
My website's thejamesfox.com. You can also find information and contact information for both Amy and I at dawnrunner.com/press. Then I'm on Instagram at James B. Fox Official and Facebook, whatever. I try to be most active on Instagram, but if you want to chat, Facebook's probably the easiest. And then, yeah, Instagram has links to all my different stuff. So my books are on Amazon. The Sol Saga, book 1 and 2 are out, Revolution and Retaliation. Book 3 is coming soon. Getting excited for that announcement. So it's coming quick.
Totally. Well, thank you both for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us on. It was great chatting with you.
Likewise.
Great chatting with you, Garrett.
A big thank you goes out to James Fox and Amy Duboff for their participation in this month's Author Awareness interview. Now, if you're interested in connecting with them online through social media or picking up copies of their published works, you can do so by clicking on the links located down in the video description. Hey, thanks for watching. Please make sure to hit like and subscribe. And if you'd like to support this channel, you can do so on Patreon through one of 3 affordable support plans. Patrons get access to blooper reels, behind-the-scenes videos, and so much more. You can also buy sweet merch from my store on Teespring, which you can then turn around and rep on Instagram and Twitter by tagging me at GKJ_publishing and using the hashtag 5kingdomsmerch. Or you can sign up for the free poster giveaway. All links are down in the video description, as I said before, and I will announce a winner for the poster when I hit 200 YouTube subscribers. I'll see you guys back here next week for a brand new live stream as I broadcast my first lecture for the Kings County Library Summer Series.
The vlog of the 5 Kingdoms is filmed without the use of a live audience at Skyrocket Studios in Hanford, California. We can't do what we do without your help, so please make sure to subscribe by clicking the button that's above my head, and make sure to watch and share the videos over here to my left. Have a great week.